Hello, welcome everyone to Thorns Builds with Mercenary. So, uh, in PoE 1, you really didn't have Thorn support. In PoE 2, you do. So, I'm going to show some ways to have different Thorn builds. Currently, I am using a Thorn build that I've brewed up. I've put it in standard mode, tested it. Now I am playing in hardcore to see if it is valid in hardcore play. So far, I've gotten my character to level 13, killed both the consort and the praetor and the graveyard. It's a mercenary thorn build with bleed and a little bit of block culling strike is the main focus of this build because the mercenary, let me show you the skills. Uh really we went to armor, strength, dex, strength, and then straight to strength, and then going directly to this is our main thing. And then we're going to go to armor break and then bleed later on if everything works out. And then we'll go further down into either rage, or we'll go into that, or where was it? Thorns. We're more than likely going to grab vengeance at some point, and then the end goal is Giant's Blood, or you get the gloves to have Giant's Blood. Either or, it just depends on what you have access to. So far, this is the build. Nothing crazy. Our HP's at 367, which isn't great. Could be way better if we had better gear. The gear setup, which is funny enough, we just have this stinking one club as a melee weapon currently. This really doesn't matter. A +1 to melee is always nice. If you can get it for gloves and the amulet, you're set. Really, this and this can be changed out for anything. Same for the belt and the rings. All of these are very, you can do any variation on your build. But the main things for air quote Thorns build is getting to level 16 and getting this helmet. This is the main thing, and then this is good, but from testing, the Ram's jacket is also very good. Even though it's not giving you thorn damage, it's giving you when someone hits you with melee, you're reflecting 250 back at, which can, in some cases, do a lot of damage to bosses. So I've been flipping between those two, but this is the main thing. To get to level 16 is the main thing for every Thorns build because of the Crown of the Pale King. The Crown of the Pale King is just the best you can get because thorn damage is triggered by all hits. That includes blocks. So if you have blocks and you're culling on blocks, that counts as a hit. So when a hit's applied, so you're basically triggering culling with hits with thorns with your blocks if you have the Doomgate shield. So whenever you're getting hit, it's going to go through a math trigger of, okay, you got hit. Is the mob above a certain amount of life? If it's not, it gets cold. That even goes towards uniques. And I've even done it towards bosses where it's killed them instantly because I use shield charge. And it's using the shield damage before the melee damage because you're charging with the shield. So you're culling the enemies with the shield before the melee. So This can be anything as long as it gives you a plus towards strength, dex, or all three. Oh, you're solid. And then attack speed's always nice as well because that'll affect your shield. But the tusk, there are better versions of this. The main thing you wish to find is 50% chance to inflict bleed on hit. That goes back through what we were talking earlier about hits. And triggered hits will be bleeds, and bleeds will trigger into culling and on blocks. So you have a system that keeps on rolling down. Currently, we're using this, the Horns of Rhyme, to give us strength, and then when we do melee, we gain 1 rage. And then on rage, we get 1% of armor, which goes towards Thorn's builds, because the higher the percentage of your armor will affect the outcome of your damage. From what I've tested in standard and now in hardcore mode, it seems to be working pretty well. So, enough talking. We've discussed a bunch of stuff on.
Sorry, I was
Hey,
to hold on
is
to
Mercenary
pieces.
the best
I will
build
treasure
for Thorn's builds? So far, from what I can tell, it has been more beneficial to run a merc with Thorns than a warrior,
Bye.
mainly. So, let's go through the skills. You guys will ask. We have shield raise, yeah, crossbow bolt. This melee strike, we have rage, and then we have impact shock. These are not really. We're saving these for other skills we'll get at level, I think 5. But these are just placeholders. Those do nothing. Currently, it's 106. That's pretty good. This is really important. Armor piercing rounds, ruthless, and then break endurance. These are 2 key things for this whole play style. And you can improve the levels and a bunch of other things. But currently, this is doing more than it's saying it's doing. Because of, we have a +2 to projectiles and stuff like that, that's fine. This crossbow, not great. Could always be improved. But, once we get our spirit skills, we're gonna try to get, let's see here. We don't have it. We're probably either gonna get Molten Shield to stack with our Doom Gate, or we're gonna go for, some other things. So, like, Resonating Shield. That is going to be a key piece in our Shield Thorns build. So far, we've ran into a lot of issues with certain bosses doing more damage, so we've had to focus on life gen. I'll show you the stats. Our resistances are not great. Can always be improved with our amulets and rings. This is a work in progress, but currently our estimated armor percentage is 73, which isn't bad. Evasion 15, block rate 62, and that's mainly because of the boots on top of the shield. Those are the 2 things buffing our block rate, including our skills. Life regen 4.1 is not good. Could always be better. We have a 32 in energy. Energy's not great. Mana 7.9, which is a little overkill. It's mainly because we have these mana rings, but can be changed later on. Armor and estimated physical reduction is at 73%, which is armor. So total armor, we're 635 total, which once we get to level 14, we'll up it even more. Evasion is 89, 15% evade. not great. We really don't want evade in this build because you want to be blocking instead of evading. You want to take damage to reflect it back with the thorns. This is not great. The only reason why we have these gloves is because we're doing a Infernal Cry build reaction. So they'll ignite and then they'll ignite again. Since there's a 50% chance to bleed them, they'll die pretty much instantly in most groups. You could even do a Warcry build with this as well. Our Thorns is not great. Currently, if we had 20 decks, our boots would be swapped out instantly to up our Thorn damage. But currently, we're working on that. So let's go ahead and show how well this plays out. So we're gonna fight the cemetery boss. It's gonna be challenging in the regards of we're not level 16, so we're gonna struggle not having our key pieces for Thorn Build. But once we get past the issues of not being level 16, we'll be able to go in and actually
Do my eyes again
get where we need to be.
At last, it's open!
And even then,
Raise the first ones!
currently, since our cold resist is at 14, this is going to be a very deadly fight in hardcore mode. So there's a possibility we die.
Torko, Callum, the family of Count Lachlan of Ogham. My family! This doesn't make any sense! They're dead! Those bastard Eternals! I must make them pay! I must make them suffer! You're dead!
Oh! So the main thing you want to make certain is, if you are playing this way, you need to make certain you're able to keep your health. And boom! If you realize, you saw it stop, and then once we did our shield charge, the math started working on shield charge and the culling effect on the block. So instead of it just blocking and killing, the shield charge realizes, oh, you're hitting to block to kill, then you cull it, boom, bada bing, the mob dies. So there's not a whole lot of like really hard math behind it, but from what I've tested, I don't know if it's currently a glitch, but currently culling on block activates when shield charge is going, on top of resonating shield. So if you resonate shield or do shield charge with Doomgate equipped, you should be able to kill most bosses if they're below that 20 to 30% life. So if you're wanting to do a Thorns build, this seems to be the most valid way of doing it currently with my testing in hardcore mode. Because although I am not max level and not going full ham in a lot of regards in certain areas, everything I've done can be improved on. This is like base level, not that great, but just having certain things in this build seems to be working so well because it's stacking certain elements on attack hit triggers, which causes things to die a lot quickly. So far, with the math as it's current, this build should get me to the end game. I know it can map easy enough with just Shield Rush and Infernal Cry. That seems to be working as intended. But everything else seems to be stacking to the point where you should be able to do certain things that a lot of warrior builds can't do because of the access to a lot of shield buffs. And this build could be adjusted and made better with the tree finger gloves and then a unique two-handed mace or sword later on. From what I can tell, if we get any uniques that improve or change the amount of damage you get, you might be able to get to a point where
don't know what I was thinking.
I'm gonna do this. Bing. So that should perfect. So now I need to change that for one thing only. This pair of boots. The pariahs will give you our thorn increased chance 25. It's like increase our thorn damage on top of thorn and our bitch. We were suffering a little bit. Now, it does decrease our defensive values from blocks. On top of, we lose a little bit of our 0.3 life gain. But, on top of that, with that, we're 409, our thorn damage is increased. Now, we can start doing some more funky parts of the build that we want
These
to
are
do.
just some odds and ends. It's beautiful.
Okay.
I accept.
And so far, from what I've noticed with this build,
Stay safe if you can.
from what I've noticed in this build, there are certain things that we can do to, like, once we get to 16, which we just need 3 more levels, which is very doable.
Yes,
since we
these are just
hit
some odds. I will treasure it.
Highlands,
Stay
we
safe
will start
if you can.
ramping towards it. Also, not even to include, all of our skills are only 2-slot gems. Let's say we start doing 3 slots, then the build can progress even further. Currently, we're using for our Infernal Cry, Corrupted Cry, on top of Magnified Effect, which is really useful for clears. This we're using for just Blood Effect right now. We'll swap this later. Bone Shatter is very niche. We're saving this to move to another skill, which will be Resonating Shield. So our Resonating Shield will do poison on top of breaking armor, which it'll be very interesting how that plays out. Next, we have our rolling. Rolling is just good. We're just testing it right now. We're gonna swap the skills out for a lot of these, but currently, just how the skills set, everything's been working. We've been clearing most, if not all, hardcore bosses very easily after reaching level 11. Once you get to level 11, you start hunting down your main equipment, which is the tusk, a few other shields and stuff like that. Just getting certain equipment to help you boost your DPS and survivability is the main thing in hardcore. In standard, you could go more DPS or item find. It really doesn't matter. It's just currently, as this build sets, we've had some issues, but it's not too, like, when we run into certain enemies that
Not today.
currently we really have no issues with those mobs.
More time.
And this is with not even full resistance on the rings, a bunch of other stuff. Like, you have to look at this build can be vastly improved. With my current iteration of it, it's doing okay. But it can always be improved on and made better with adjustments. Like, for example, the weapon alone, we could be dealing more DPS with different weapons. Heck, we could even add ice buildup to this to make it even more interesting. Currently, we've had issues early game, but once you get past the early game, this build really starts to shine. So level 11 is the thing where you start using your on the marketplace, try to get what you need. Like, you saw just that alone, me just gunning them down, I had no issues. Like, on top of when they start hitting me with my gun, it shows that, oh, you have a shield. Let's swap the shield. So here. Bada bing. Just with that combo there, you can see how it's just clearing mobs, you're staying alive, on top of not really dying. And I haven't even showed you the interaction with the Infernal Gloves on top of it. So, let's say you get these guys. I didn't even have to hit them. They self-exploded because of the bleed effect on top of the double ignite because of the gloves. So, this build currently is working as intended from what I can tell. There's still some issues. There's things you need to keep up with. For example, I need to upgrade my current potions because currently.
What's all this then? Things from these parts. Maybe he knows.
That's not even. I'm not even using all the skills that I have at my disposal. Like, majority of the time, I'm just using one for each skill, like spells or skills. For example, I usually just do that, or shield charge, or a couple other mixed in. This build right now, in its current iteration, is very built in progress, but once we start getting to harder content that requires a little bit more focus, like right here.
Need a sec.
See, out of all that damage and everything like that, I didn't have that much of an issue. Yeah, you have to keep on moving, but if you're not moving and you're just sitting in place, are you really playing the game?
So, something's pleased.
But this is a short introduction to my Mercenary Thorn build. Hope you guys like it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more builds on Path of Exile 2. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.